Bro, the whole freaking time I was recording that, this thing, like, I'm on my bed right now, bro. Because this is, like, where I'm recording. This freaking ring light is like that. My iPad with all my notes is like that. Like, anything for you guys, though. What is up, you guys? It is Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And for this video, I would like to start out by asking everybody and answer in the comments, who's excited for school? Yeah, not me either. Going into a new school can be pretty nerve-wracking. Even if you're not going into a new school, sometimes just going into a new grade can be pretty nerve-wracking because, you know, new people and stuff like that, but especially if you're going to a new grade. Like, for me, I'm going into high school in 10 freaking days. Like, I swear I was literally in first grade yesterday. But I mean, it's not only that, like, if you're going into high school, sometimes if you're going into middle school, it can be pretty nerve-wracking too, because elementary school is easy and you don't know what to expect in middle school. So this is why this video is going to be about advice for middle schoolers. To start off this video, I thought it would make sense to talk about the most important topic, which is school and academics. So when it comes to school and academics, a lot of people are used to having only one teacher and learn a bunch of the same easy topics in one class when you're in elementary, but unfortunately, it isn't the same for middle school. Well, people say unfortunately, but for me, I think it's a highlight, because when you're in a bunch of new different classes and you can walk to different classes, then you can make a bunch of new friends in different classes, and then you can bond over the class you have, and then sometimes your friends will have other classes, which is totally okay, because then you can ask them about that class. Maybe you'll have that class in the future. Another thing I would like to talk about that topic is when you manage multiple teachers. I don't really... Sometimes teachers are more strict, sometimes teachers are more chill and laid back, I guess. Obviously, everybody wants a laid back teacher, but that's not always what you're gonna get. Ooh, voice crack. Anyway... But when it comes to having strict teachers, really what you want to know is just to be on their good side, make sure you're paying attention in class, try your best not to talk about gossip in class or any sort of thing like that, and always make sure to ask questions if you're ever confused about something. Now, when it comes to changing classes, a lot of people are worried, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to my class on time, what if I forget what building I'm supposed to go to, etc., etc. For me, it was super hard to learn all of that within just 1 week of middle school, which obviously is going to be hard. And that's why most schools, they have leaders that will help you walk around the school and help you navigate where you're supposed to go. And don't feel afraid to ask them questions, because, I mean, that's what they're there for. That's their job. And I gotta admit, I was scared to ask them before. But again, there was really no reason to, because that's literally what they're for. So, you know, walk out of that comfort zone, I guess. Another thing about changing classes is people are like, oh, what if I don't make it to class on time? Most of the time it's pretty easy as long as you're walking a normal distance, but just make sure you're not getting distracted talking to your friends, like, during passing period. My passing period is 4 minutes, and it was easy for me to get to class, like, immediately. But I will say that finding your class shouldn't be that hard once you get the hang of it, because for me, for my example, my school, it was like, we had a 200 building, 300 building, and 400, so then if our class was like room 452, that means it would be in the 400 building, and then that would probably mean that was upstairs since it's like over 50, so something like that might happen for your school. I don't know if it's the same for other schools, I'm assuming it is, but if it's the same for you, then it should be pretty easy. Another thing is using lockers for the first time. Obviously, most people don't have that in elementary school. Sometimes we had it to keep, like, instruments inside of there, but that's really not the same thing. For me, I, like, romanticized the feeling of having a locker because I thought it was so, like, trendy, so middle school, so Pinterest. It really wasn't. It was a waste of time. Especially for middle school, honestly. I feel like high school, it will probably be pretty useful for me. But I never used it at all. I mostly decorated it, but I never used it a single bit because my backpack could fit everything. But I mean, if you have an instrument, or you truly have a lot of stuff that your backpack can't fit, then yes, I would say get a locker. But people are like, oh, I'm so excited to use my locker, I'm so excited to decorate it. Just letting you know, not a lot of people use their lockers. Like, I think I knew like 3 people who used lockers throughout all of middle school. And then some people even like put food in their locker to see what it would look like when it molds, and don't do that because that's disrespectful and gross. So don't do that. Next, we're going to get into a topic that mostly I think every single person is worried about, which is friendship and social life. So I will tell you, and I'm going to be completely blunt, I don't know the freaking word, but I'm going to be as honest as I can about this. When I was in elementary school, I had tons of friends. I had this really like close friend group to me that I was friends with for like over 10 years or something like that. And when I got to middle school, let's just say I found better people. Because honestly, when I tell you, when you get to middle school, you will find out people's true colors. And I know that doesn't make sense, like in elementary school, you'll probably be like, oh, but these people are so nice to me. When you get to middle school, that's when people start getting real, because that's when people start making fun of you. That's when people are more disrespectful and stuff like that, and that's when people really will test your limits, and you're just going to see who's real and who's not. And obviously it's going to hurt to lose the friends you've known for so long or have been so attached to, but if it wasn't right, then it's not going to go right. Or I mean, if it didn't go right, then it's not right for you, which is okay. And again, I know it's going to hurt at first, but I mean, life is life, and you're going to move on, and I promise you, it will get better. If it's not better, or it will always get better in the end, and if it's not better, then it's not the end. That's a quote I follow by. I don't know who I got that from, but that's that. And then also another thing, like, sometimes people still even keep their friends from elementary school. Sometimes they don't go through big breakups like I did. Like, I still have, I think a couple friends from elementary school, but, like, not super close, just, like, we're friends, you know, but, like, I'm just letting you know, people will think, oh, I'm going to keep the same friends from elementary school, from middle school until high school, until life. I'm letting you know it's most likely not going to be like that. And again, that's okay, because then we find new people. And new people, new me, new life, yada yada bang. And that's okay. One thing I would also like to talk about, which is a little bit of a sensitive topic, is peer pressuring and trying to basically fit in. So a bunch of people will think, and honestly, you're going to talk about this in class. Like, I think I learned about this, and I know I learned about it in middle school, but I don't know if I learned about it, like, I think I learned about it in health class. But anyway, so people are going to feel urged to be pressured into something they don't want to do just to feel like that they fit in, just to make themselves feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so cool, I'm just like everybody else. But that's really not something you would want to do, because imagine, like, for some reason, people my age are freaking smoking, and you know what? People have their own lives, people, like, will go through things, I don't know what's going on at home, and I'm not going to judge them for that, but I will say that it's a dangerous thing, and you shouldn't be doing it, and I'm not telling you can do it if you have a hard time, I'm just letting you guys know that people have hard times, you never know what's going on, but it doesn't make it right, you know? But I will say, if somebody, it doesn't even have to be about that, but if somebody's peer pressuring you into doing anything, absolutely anything you don't want to, don't do it, obviously. If they're going to get mad at you or leave you for whoever you're trying to be, whoever you're trying to stay away from, then clearly you should stay away from them, and they're just not the person for you. Now, for me, when I was in middle school, I was pretty bullied badly. Well, at least 6th grade I was bullied, and then 7th grade got better, and then 8th grade was the best for me. Like, I loved 8th grade so much. But people will say, like, oh, I gotta change my clothes, I gotta change my hair, I gotta change the way I look, I gotta change everything about myself in order to make me feel better. But that's really not what it is. People will think you have to look like a certain way to be able to fit in, but that really wasn't it. That's really not it. You should be able to be yourself and find your circle, find your group, and make sure that they won't judge you for anything, because true friends will not judge you for anything, and true friends will bring up your ego, bring up your confidence, and that's all that matters when you have true friends. Now, when it comes to drama and rumors, people will often think, ooh, drama, I want to hear about it because, you know, it's, like, interesting. I will say, it is okay to hear about it, but it's never okay to spread it around. Especially, I would say think about how that person feels. Like, imagine if it's a rumor that could be, I don't know, life-threatening or, like, super embarrassing for them. And then, since it's a rumor, it's obviously not true. So then imagine that thing is going around the whole school. Imagine how that person feels. That would suck. And then also, sometimes it could happen to you. People will start rumors about you, or even if they hear something that is true, they'll start spreading it around the school like it's crazy. Because I remember, like, I told one person one thing once, never told a single person ever, and I thought I trusted them. And now suddenly everybody in the school knows. So, that's another thing. Like, also just make sure you tell people you truly trust, but even sometimes that, it doesn't even work out. But when it comes to drama and rumors, try your best to stay out of it, and I really mean that, because drama and rumors were what ruined my 6th grade year and made it the worst school year of my life. And if I never got involved in drama, it would have been so much better for me. Now we're gonna get into relationships and crushes, which is also another thing that people do worry about a lot. I will say having a crush or dating somebody in middle school is fine-ish, but I would say, if anything, I would say probably wait until high school, because I regret all the dating I did in middle school. I regret it so much. I so regret it. It's bad. Like, if I could go back in time and fix something I did, like, it would be dating in middle school. Again, situations are different for people, but I'm just letting you guys know that was a big mistake of mine, and I don't think anybody else should date in middle school until, so yeah. It's okay to have a crush, and that's fine. But I'm just saying it wasn't a good idea to date in middle school. But if you do, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying it wasn't a good idea for me personally. So I'm just letting you know. But the thing about having a first crush is you're going to navigate those new feelings, especially if you didn't feel this way in elementary school. Well, I mean, sometimes people can still have a crush on people in elementary school, but it's, like, not the same as you were back, because when you're in middle school, you're preteen, you're a teenager now. So that means, like, you're going to have new feelings, whether that means, like, honestly, like what I just said, when you hit puberty or whatever, I know that's weird, and people are going to judge me for saying that. I mean, it's going to feel different, and you're going to want more attraction towards guys, girls, or whatever you feel attracted to, and that's okay. People will think that that's weird, and people are going to try and decline their feelings, which is not something you should do, because it is totally normal to have a crush on somebody, and sometimes it can be embarrassing, and I get that 100%, because I always felt that way when I started liking people in 6th grade. But, you know, you get through it, and sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. Something I would like to talk about when it comes to relationships and crushes as well is the awkwardness you're gonna feel, especially when you're talking to them. Like, I don't even want to bring up the situation I went through, but I'm just gonna say, like, I remember, like, sometimes, gosh, I'm gonna restart that. So one thing I would like to talk about relationships, or another thing I would like to talk about, is when it comes to having awkwardness between you and your crush, because for me, I'm not gonna name situations I've been through, but sometimes people will, like, pretend you sit in the same class together, right? For example, he sits in front of you or sits next to you or something. And then, obviously, you have feelings for him, so you're going to feel embarrassed, you're going to feel, like, eager to do something right, feel eager to do something wrong, and you're always going to be noticed. 1 minute. Kabrina. But, I mean, when you're sitting next to somebody in class, you're always going to be cautious about your emotions, about what you're doing, about your actions, about if you're answering these questions on your paper right, because what if he thinks you're, like, dumb or something. And I don't really know what to say about that, because it's always going to be like that. You're always going to feel awkward in front of your crush, but I will say, just pretend he's, like, your friend. Because, I mean, that's basically what you are at first, right? When you have a crush on somebody, you're either friends or you can pretend to be friends, because usually that helps for me, especially, like, if I'm going on a date with somebody, you just pretend they're, like, one of your best friends, and when you're dating somebody, they're either called boyfriend or girlfriend. The word friend is in that word. So just treat them as if they're a friend. Pretend you're on call with your best friend. Or pretend you're FaceTiming your best friend. Pretend you're talking to your best friend. Pretend he's just even a group mate that you need to share answers with. Now, I will talk about mutual crushes. When you have a mutual crush on somebody, like I said, dating for me was not a good idea. But people will be like, oh, mutual crushes means I can date them now since we both like each other back. I will say it's better for the boy to ask you out, but also I'm saying at the same time, like, girls also shoot your shot, but at the same time in middle school, I don't know if it's the best idea just because academics are a little bit harder, so I don't want you to, like, burn it out-ish, which I get will be the same thing in middle school, or, I mean, same thing in high school, but people are more mature, so I guess, like, if you need to tell somebody, oh, I can't, like, call right now, then they understand because they know, like, the workload or whatever, but having mutual crushes is fun, and I will say if you're allowed to date, then I mean go for it. Again, wasn't a good idea for me. But I mean, it's fun to have, but like before you start dating somebody, this is gonna be really weird, but I have my own list for like high school and like what things I want in a guy, which is like about personality, not only looks. Looks are something you can dream about too, but it's not like the only thing I have. But a bunch of personalities I have is like bare minimum, like holding the door open for me, being nice to me, being loyal, stuff like that. So you can make sure like he checks off that list, your mental list for you. And if he does, then I would say go for it. And I mean, just make sure it's not really like distracting you from your academics. And I will remind you that middle school relationships never last, and it's the longest relationship that lasted for me in middle school was 5 months, which is honestly a record for middle school, but most of the time it's gonna last like 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to rejection and moving on, that can be pretty hard, especially if you guys were in a relationship and then you broke up, because that went pretty hard for me, because I was always like, oh, I'm gonna get married to this guy in the future, like I love this guy so much, I love him. Never say I love you in middle school. Never. People in middle school don't understand how strong, like, the word love is. Like, you say it to your freaking parents every single day, so you're just like, oh, it's just the word love, so it like, doesn't matter. But it really does. Love is a strong word, and I don't think if you're in middle school, you should be using it. Even in high school, like, if you guys have only been dating for, like, let's say, like, a month, like, 1 month to 5 months or something, that I would still say that's not a great amount. Maybe like 6 months or higher, that's when you guys can start saying I love you or whatever. Because again, love is a strong word. You're gonna be in love with somebody. That basically means like you're not falling out of love of anybody and you're stuck with that person for not forever, but for a long time, because sometimes people do fall out of love, which does suck, but you know, it's what it is. But when you do have rejection from a crush, just remember, you're not gonna marry them. You can move on. And I know so many people will say this, it's a common saying, but that's only because it's true. Also, ignore my ring light and my freaking glasses. But there is so many other fishes in the sea that you're going to find so many other people, you're going to find so many other guys, so many other girls that will be just, if not better, as them. Now, when it comes to moving on, it kind of depends. Like, when you have a crush, I feel like it's easier to move on when you have a crush, because then, like, you guys weren't dating. Again, not like it's gonna happen. If you clearly didn't date the first time, then it's not like it's gonna happen a second time. And then that just means they weren't right for you, once again. And then versus when it comes to breaking up with a boyfriend, obviously you guys are gonna have pictures of each other. Not either of each other, with each other, or just like something related to them. Delete all those photos as soon as you guys break up. If he gave you any gifts, hide them. I asked my parents to hide them whenever that happened to me. Well, I told them to throw it away, but I don't think they threw that away, because, like... But just delete all memory of them, and then eventually, like, they have the, like, 7 stages of grief thing. I guess you can kind of do that, but I do say that it's better to be angry about it rather than sad, because every single time I was sad about a relationship or like any breakup whatsoever, I was always so miserable, and it sucks. whenever I was mad about it, it made me feel better because I was able to talk it out, and instead it was easier for me to like get out my emotions rather than crying all day, because whenever I'm sad, I feel like doing nothing. Whenever I'm angry, I will do some sort of physical motivating activity that will like get my anger out. Now when it comes to healthy boundaries, there's not really a lot I can say. All I know is make sure that they're not being toxic to you, make sure that they're being nice to you, and you will learn a lot about it in health class, so I will say that. Another topic that I think is very, not super, but like a little sensitive towards other people is personal growth and self-image, which I'm gonna admit it. Everybody struggles with it. And again, I'm gonna admit it. I struggle with it every single day. I struggle with the way my body looks, sometimes my hair, because my hair looks like a freaking mess right now. Sometimes even the way my freaking eyes look, sometimes the way my legs look. Literally all of me I'm insecure about, but we can find ways to not feel insecure about that by thinking about other people's perspectives. For example, gosh, I love her hair so much, I wish I could look like her, versus what the other person is saying. I'm so jealous of how flat her stomach is, I wish I could be just like her. So you see how both people were both going through different things, but both were jealous of each other? That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of people always go through the same thing, even if you can't see it, because everybody's fighting a battle that not everybody can see. And people be like, oh, since she looks like that, she's probably so happy and she's probably the greatest person in the world. No, it's almost never like that. No matter how good somebody looks, no matter how confident they seem in person, they always have a battle that they are a victim of that they will either never be able to get rid of or will one day. But like I'm trying to say, everybody struggles with something every single day, and not everybody can see that because some people are better at hiding it than others. And that's what should bring your confidence up. I mean, it's weird like saying, how does somebody being down bring my confidence up? Which is not what I'm trying to say. Like, you should not have other people's bad moods bring you motivation. But I'm saying it should help you feel better to know that you're not the only one struggling. You're not the only one struggling with how you look or personal image or confidence or stuff like that. And there's always people going through the same thing as you, whether it's different, whether it's the same. People always will have a battle that they're fighting, and struggling with personal growth, struggling with insecurities and confidence and stuff is normal, and you're going to go through it as soon as you get into middle school. Sometimes people go through it in elementary school, whether it's about grades, whether it's about how they look, and again, it's just going to be like that, and everybody goes through the same thing. Now, when it comes to your mental well-being, I will say that handling stress, anxiety, and self-consciousness and learning not to care so much about what others think is definitely a hard thing to do. But when you're overcoming self-consciousness, like I said, just remember what other battles people are fighting and you're not alone. And then sometimes people can have anxiety about going to the first day or whatever, which, I mean, I have anxiety about going to the first day of school, but just remember, everybody is as nervous as you are for the first day. And again, as I'm going to say 1,000 times, you're not alone. And then people will even have the fear of missing out or anxiety over grades, fear of missing out, like FOMO. Sometimes people will think like, oh, if I don't join this club, then my friends are going to join this club, and I'm going to feel left out. Or like, oh, since my friends chose this class for middle school, like say, pretend they chose orchestra and you want to do choir. I'm in choir. So pretend that they chose orchestra and they chose choir, and you're like, oh, I really love choir, but I want to join orchestra so I can have classes with my friends. Never, ever, ever do that, because it is not always guaranteed that you're going to have the same class as your friend anyway. I guess music wasn't really a good example, because sometimes you will get into the same orchestra class or same music class. But again, let's just say English and math. Be like, oh, I really want to do this math class, but then my friends are doing this English class, so I want to do that English class instead. Never do that, because it is a good guarantee, since you're coming in with multiple different elementary schools, that it's not always guaranteed that you're going to be with your friends either way, and you're going to have either different teachers, a different class, or sometimes if you're lucky, you're going to have the same teacher, same class. But again, I will say, choose what you want to choose, not because of others, because of what you want to do, because in the end, it matters about your future. Now, people have anxiety about grades, and again, that's like super common. I had anxiety about grades all the time because I literally almost failed math 2 years in a row. But I was able to do it at the end because I went to this studying thing after school, and it was actually really helpful. So I will say people are scared to fix their grades because they're scared to ask questions, they're scared to tell their parents they have bad grades and all that stuff. But again, make sure to talk to people, because if you don't talk to people, it's not easy to do alone. And I know I've been saying, like, you can be alone for, like, a bunch of things, or, like, you're not alone for a bunch of things, but it's not easy, so that's what I'm saying. Don't be alone. But people are scared to ask teachers, like, certain questions because they're scared, like, oh, what if they're strict? Oh, what if they're, like, gonna be mean or think I'm stupid for answering this question? First of all, a teacher shouldn't be calling you stupid for anything. If they do, that's a concern, and that's saying more about them than you, but teachers are obviously not going to do that unless they really are bad at their job. And they're always willing to help you no matter what, because that's what they're there for. They're supposed to be there to give you an education. They're supposed to be there to help you learn and all that. Another topic about, like, confidence and stuff is people will try and say, like, oh, like, try not to care what others think. Which, again, I will say is not easy. But when you're learning to care what people... What? But think about it. How is their opinion relevant to you? For example, like, when I was in choir, like, when I was new to choir, people would criticize me on my singing all the time. They're not even, like, I'm not saying it was the best, but I'm not saying it was horrible, okay? People would be like, your singing sucks, or people would be like, you suck at this, you suck at that. What credentials do they have to be judging me? You're not a freaking judge. They weren't even in choir themselves. They were just random people making fun of me to make fun of me because they were miserable. And that's another thing. People will make fun of you because they're miserable to make themselves feel better, which I think is messed the frick up. But people will do what they want to make themselves feel better. Does it always work? No. That's why they keep doing it. And it's really bad. People told me, like, horrible things in 6th grade, which is why it was so bad. Don't get involved in drama. So. But, I mean, again, I will go back to the topic. Do not care about what others think, because, again, what credentials do they have that's relevant to you? If they say, like, oh, you're so ugly, you're not no judge. I can dress how I want, I can look how I want. God made me this way, and he thinks I'm pretty, and if this is how I was supposed to be out to the universe, and that's supposed to be how I was out to the universe. For the last one, we will be talking about digital life and social media. Now, when it comes to social media pressures, people will be, like, managing screen time, group chats, online reputation, and there's also the topic of cyberbullying. So when it comes to managing screen time, it's not like a physical thing, I guess. Like, people say, like, oh, my parents physically, like, manage my screen time, which is a lot of the case for my friends, but for me, I personally learned how to spell playing Roblox, which I think is, it's funny, but it's true. My parents talk about it all the time, which is why I'm in AP English. But anyway. People will be so concerned about managing screen time because they're gonna be like, oh, I come home from school this day, and all I want to do, because since it was such a tiring day, all I want to do is lay in my bed and eat snacks and just go to bed after that. And then people will be, especially, like, if you have homework, you'll have a due date, for example, that's like 2 days later from the day you got it. So, like, pretend you get homework on Wednesday, but it's due on Friday. So you'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna do it on Thursday instead of doing it the day you get it. Don't do that. I will say it 3 times.
Don't do that, don't do that, and don't freaking do that.
Because that is how me, Cassie, failed math. Or almost failed math. But every single time I got homework, I was always so tired when I got home from school, so I'd be like, gosh, I really don't want to do this, and I have time to do it another day, so I'm just going to do it another day. And then every single day I still kept getting homework, so then it just kept piling up on top of each other, so eventually I had to do like 5 sheets of homework in one day before, like, the day before the due date, so I also didn't have enough time to learn all of the homework because it was all on, like, different topics. So if you get homework in a day, do your homework the same day you get it. I am going to tell you this multiple times. Do your homework the same day you get it, because that is what made me fail math, and I regret it so much. And I know some people are probably going to be like, oh, I bet it's not that bad if I, like, skip one day. No, it's that bad. It is that bad. Because then you don't understand the topic anymore. If you're really that smart, go ahead, I guess. But, like, personally for me, like, when it comes to, I took Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and then I took Pre-Algebra 2 in 7th grade. Those 2 topics were the hardest for me, and if you go on Google and search up, is Algebra 1 one of the hardest math topics, it will say yes, because of how many freaking things are in the syllabus when you're learning Algebra 1. It was so hard for me, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It was incredibly hard. But like I said, some people will be like, dude, I really want to watch TV instead, and I want to, like, procrastinate or whatever. One thing you can do is people will be like, oh, that means I have to lock in on my homework and I can't do anything else. Which is not true at all. You can either find ways to make it fun by either going to a cafe with your friend and studying, playing some music, I suggest with no vocals, and instead it's just instrumentals of your, like, favorite songs or something, because sometimes vocals can be distracting to me, personally. You can even watch TV in the background as long as it's not too distracting. You can have a fun drink, you can have some of your favorite snacks, just anything that will make you focus more and make it a little bit fun. And then next we'll be talking about group chats, which I don't really have a lot to say, but I will say be careful what you say in those group chats, because sometimes it can get out. Because I remember, this was even in elementary school, this wasn't even in middle school, which me and her are on good terms now. Me and her are friends, so don't worry. And I apologize for everything that happened. But basically, we were talking about this girl I really didn't like back then in elementary school, because we had like an on and off like friendship. So then in my group chat that I was trusted, nobody else told. In my group chat, I was texting about this girl, and I was saying all sorts of bad stuff about her, which I totally regret to this day. I never talk bad about somebody for no reason, because she really did nothing to me, and I was really immature for that. But I was talking bad about her in a group chat, and then somehow they got to my teacher, and I got in really big trouble. So that wasn't great. I'm not saying that's not great because you're going to get in really big trouble. I'm just saying it's not great to talk about bad stuff in group chats, but like sometimes inappropriate stuff can get out and stuff like that. But also don't be too worried about it, because when I had group chats in middle school, it wasn't really a big deal. It was only elementary school, which I still don't know how that stuff got out, but I'm glad it did, because now I'm a better person about it, and I'm glad. And when it comes to online reputation, people will be like, oh, I have to post like thirst traps in my push-up bra and while I'm a 12-year-old girl. No, because I thought that's how it was supposed to be for me too. And that, like, I'm not even gonna get started on my 6th grade freaking. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. Anyway. When it comes to online reputation, I mean, post what you want to post. There's, again, not really much I have to say about that. Post what you want to post as long as it's appropriate. And also, when you're in middle school, you're not exactly at the age you can post on TikTok of your face yet, because you have to be, I think, 13 plus. So also be careful with that. And then regarding online reputation will come with cyberbullying and recognizing online toxicity and knowing when to block somebody or step away or tell an adult. So sometimes cyberbullying can just be simple, like, oh, you don't look, like, you look ugly, or like, oh, wait, delete this, because especially nowadays on the internet, people can be so cruel, so mean. And as an influencer, an upcoming influencer, I also do acting, I'm a singer, and I do modeling. I've gotten hate comments all the time, and you kind of just learn to get used to it over the time, but sometimes, I keep saying sometimes, but you will have a time where you do need to block somebody and genuinely tell an adult, which is when somebody either tells you to, because I don't know if I can say it, or when somebody tells you, and stuff like that. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be bullying, like somebody can say something bad about you. It can be something weird towards you, if you catch my drift. Sometimes if you're posting a cute video of yourself, not even trying to be like weird or thirst trappy about it, some random weirdo will like DM you and be like, oh, you're so, you know, and try to be like really weird about it. Those 2 things that I said, when people are saying inappropriate things to you or saying like super rude and disrespectful, like, and stuff like that, is when you should block and tell an adult, because nobody should be spreading that stuff around, because that is a very serious topic that people do genuinely struggle with every single day. Now, I will say, to wrap up today's video, that I'm sorry I haven't been posting very frequently. I'm trying to do that. I know this is only like my 3rd video, but I'm going to try my best to get this video out before school actually starts, which for me is September 1st. Because I know some people did already start school, and I'm going to try and post this before everybody else starts school, because I think September is like the last day for people to start school. But if you guys have any more questions you want to know about any advice that I didn't cover in this video, unfortunately, then you can let me know in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to answer it because I know a lot of people won't be commenting on my video anyway. But if this video does go famous by any chance, any blessing at all, then you can ask me more questions in the comments, and I will be happy to answer them and answer as many of them as I can. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button for more videos like this. And I will see you guys in the next one. And don't forget to compliment somebody today to make their day. Goodbye. I love you.